My husband's fists had become as familiar as his voice. Every day, a new bruise. Every night, a new lie. When I collapsed in the kitchen, bleeding internally, he rushed me to the hospital and held my hand like a devoted husband. What I did next shocked everyone. Before we begin, write in the comments what city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy watching. I opened my eyes to white tile. Cold. Hard. The kitchen floor pressed against my cheek. Something warm and wet spread beneath me. Red. Too much red. My vision blurred. Sounds came in waves, muffled, distant. Then his voice, sharp, panicked. Sarah! Sarah! Oh God, no, 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 no! Footsteps pounded toward me. Hands grabbed my shoulders, rough but shaking. He turned me over and I saw his face hovering above mine. His eyes were wide, wet with tears. Stay with me, he said. His voice cracked. Please, stay with me. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. My lips moved, but no sound. Pain radiated through my abdomen, sharp and hot, like something inside me was tearing apart. He scooped me up in his arms. I felt weightless, floating. My head lolled against his chest. I could hear his heart pounding, fast and frantic. I'm sorry, he whispered, over and over. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. I'd heard those words before, 1,000 times, maybe more. They used to mean something, now they were just noise. He carried me through the house, out the front door. The sunlight was too bright. I squeezed my eyes shut. He fumbled with the car door, laid me across the back seat. His hands were gentle now, so gentle, like I was made of glass. Hold on, he said. We're going to the hospital, just hold on. The engine roared to life. Tires screeched. The world tilted and spun. I stared at the car ceiling, gray fabric, a small stain in the corner, coffee maybe, from when things were normal, when we were normal. My eyes closed again. When I opened them, everything was white and bright. Fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic, voices everywhere, urgent, professional. Female, early 30s, unconscious, internal bleeding suspected. Hands touched me, moved me, lifted me onto something soft. A gurney. I felt it rolling beneath me, wheels squeaking against linoleum. Then his face appeared above me again, tear-streaked, desperate. I'm right here, baby, he said. He grabbed my hand, squeezed it tight. I'm not leaving you. A nurse appeared beside him, young, dark hair pulled back, kind eyes. Sir, what happened? She asked. She slipped, he said quickly. Too quickly. The kitchen floor was wet. I told her to be careful, but she slipped. The nurse looked at me, then at him. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, maybe, or doubt. We need to examine her, the nurse said. You'll have to wait outside. No. His grip on my hand tightened. I'm staying with her. I'm her husband. I have the right to stay. The nurse hesitated, then nodded. Just step back, please. They cut away my shirt, hands pressed gently against my stomach. I winced. The pain flared hot and bright. Possible ruptured spleen, someone said. Prep for surgery. A doctor appeared, older, gray hair. He leaned over me and his eyes scanned my body, not just my stomach, everywhere. The bruises on my arms, the yellowing marks on my ribs, the faint scar above my eyebrow from 2 months ago. He looked at my husband, then back at me. Ma'am, the doctor said slowly. Can you hear me? I nodded, barely. I need to ask you something. His voice was low, careful. Are you safe at home? The room went silent. I felt my husband's hand tense around mine, felt his eyes burning into me. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. Yes, I whispered. The word felt like ash on my tongue. The doctor's jaw tightened. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes, but he nodded. All right, he said. We're going to take care of you. They wheeled me toward surgery. My husband walked beside the gurney, his hand still holding mine, his face a mask of concern. The perfect, devoted husband. Just before the double doors, a different nurse appeared. younger than the first. She leaned down close to my ear, so close my husband couldn't hear. "This is for you," she whispered. Something small and rectangular pressed into my palm. A card. I closed my fingers around it. "You can call anytime," she said. "Day or night. We can help." Then she was gone. The door swung open. They pushed me through. My husband's hand slipped away. The last thing I saw was his face, relieved. Like everything was going to be fine now. Like this was just another accident, another close call, another story we'd never talk about again. The anesthesia mask came down over my face. Someone told me to count backward from 10, 9, 8. Darkness. When I woke up, the room was dim, quiet. Machines beeped softly beside me. I tried to sit up, but pain shot through my abdomen. I gasped and fell back against the pillows. My hand moved to my stomach. Bandages, thick and tight. I turned my head. My husband was asleep in a chair next to the bed, his head tilted back, mouth slightly open. He looked peaceful, innocent. I stared at him. At the man I married 6 years ago. The man who used to make me laugh, who used to hold me like I was precious, who used to look at me like I was the only person in the world. When did he change? Or had he always been this way and I just didn't see it? I couldn't remember anymore. Couldn't remember the last time I felt safe, the last time I felt happy, the last time I felt like a person instead of something to be used and broken and fixed and broken again. My other hand clenched. The card, it was still there, crumpled in my fist. I lifted it slowly, carefully, a phone number printed in black ink, and underneath 3 words: "You deserve better." I stared at those words until they blurred, until tears rolled down my cheeks and dripped onto the thin hospital blanket. My husband stirred. His eyes opened. He saw me crying and sat up fast. "Sarah," he said, "what's wrong? Are you in pain? Should I call the nurse?" I looked at him, at his worried face, at his reaching hands, and I didn't say anything at all. I woke to the sound of rustling plastic. My eyes opened slowly. Everything hurt. My stomach, my head, even breathing felt like work. The room came into focus. White walls, monitors beeping, sunlight streaming through a window, and flowers. A massive bouquet of roses on the table beside my bed. Red and perfect. My husband sat in the chair next to me. He was leaning forward, reading aloud from a book. His voice was soft, gentle. She knew then that love wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was the quiet moments, the simple acts of devotion. He looked up and saw my eyes open. His face lit up. "You're awake," he said. He closed the book and reached for my hand. "How are you feeling?" I stared at him, at the concern in his eyes, at the way he held my hand like it was fragile, precious. "Tired," I whispered. "The doctor said you'll be tired for a while. They had to remove your spleen, but you're going to be okay." He squeezed my hand. "You scared me, Sarah. I thought I was going to lose you." His eyes were wet, like he might cry, like he was the victim here. A nurse walked in, the same one from yesterday, the young one with kind eyes. She smiled when she saw us. "Good morning," she said. "How's our patient doing?" "Better," my husband said before I could answer. "She just woke up." The nurse checked the monitors, adjusted my IV. She glanced at the flowers. "Those are beautiful," she said. "I wanted her to wake up to something nice," my husband said. He looked at me. "She deserves it." The nurse smiled wider. "You're a good husband. She's lucky to have you." I wanted to laugh or scream, but I just nodded. The nurse finished her checks and left. My husband stood up and moved closer to the bed. He brushed a strand of hair from my face. His touch was light, tender. Then he leaned down, his mouth next to my ear, his breath warm against my skin. "If you tell anyone what really happened," he whispered, "no one will believe you." I froze. "Look at me," he continued, still whispering, still so gentle. "I'm the devoted husband, the one who rushed you to the hospital, the one who hasn't left your side. Who do you think they'll believe? Me Or the clumsy wife who keeps having accidents? He pulled back and smiled. A real smile. The kind he used in public. The kind that made people think we were perfect. I love you, he said loudly, loud enough for anyone passing in the hallway to hear. Then he kissed my forehead and sat back down. My heart pounded in my chest. The monitors beeped faster. He glanced at them, then at me. Calm down, he said quietly. You'll make them worry. I closed my eyes and forced myself to breathe. Slow, steady. The beeping slowed. When I opened my eyes again, he was back to reading. Like nothing had happened. Like he was just a loving husband passing the time. The morning passed in a blur. Nurses came and went. The doctor stopped by. My husband stood and shook his hand. They talked in the doorway. I watched them. Watched my husband laugh at something the doctor said. Watched him gesture with his hands. Animated, charming. The doctor looked over at me and smiled. You're in good hands, he called out. I nodded. Because what else could I do? When the doctor left, my husband came back to the chair. He picked up the book again. Where were we? He asked. I didn't answer. I just stared at the ceiling, at the water stain in the corner, at anything but him. Hours passed. He read. He brought me water. He adjusted my pillows. He played the part perfectly, and everyone who saw us believed it. By evening, I was exhausted, not from the surgery, from pretending, from nodding, from saying thank you when he did something kind, from acting like everything was fine. I'm going to stay the night, he announced. I don't want you to be alone. You don't have to, I said. My voice was hoarse. I want to. He smiled. What kind of husband would I be if I left you here? The kind I wish you were, I thought, but I didn't say it. He reclined the chair and pulled a blanket over himself. Within minutes, his breathing slowed, deep and steady, asleep. I lay there in the dark. The only light came from the machines beside me, and the green exit sign above the door, glowing, bright, like a promise. I stared at it for a long time, imagining myself walking through that door, down the hallway, out of the hospital, away from him, away from everything. But where would I go? I had no money of my own, no family nearby, no friends I'd kept in touch with. He'd made sure of that slowly, carefully. One by one, he'd convinced me to cut ties. For us, for our marriage, for our future. And I'd believed him. My hand moved to my pocket. The card was still there, crumpled and soft from being held so tight. I pulled it out slowly, quietly. The phone number stared back at me. You deserve better. Did I? I wasn't sure anymore. Maybe this was all I deserved. Maybe I'd done something to make him this way. Maybe if I tried harder, if I was better, if I didn't make him angry. But even as I thought it, I knew it was a lie I'd been telling myself for years. I picked up my phone from the bedside table. My hands shook. I typed the number carefully, each digit deliberate. The phone screen glowed in the darkness. The number sat there, waiting. All I had to do was press call, but I didn't, not yet. Instead, I saved the number, under a fake name, hidden in my contacts where he'd never think to look. Then I deleted the call log, just in case. I put the phone back, slipped the card under my pillow, and stared at the exit sign again. One day, I thought, one day I'll walk through that door. But not tonight. Tonight, I was still too afraid. The next morning, a nurse woke me early. She was pushing a wheelchair with another woman sitting in it. The woman looked about my age, maybe younger. Her left arm was in a cat, a sling held it against her chest. Why not? We're moving someone in with you, the nurse said cheerfully. Hope you don't mind the company. I shook my head. My husband was still asleep in the chair, his head tilted to one side, snoring softly. The nurse helped the woman into the bed next to mine. She winced when she moved, her face pale with pain. I'll be back to check on both of you, the nurse said. Then she left. The room fell quiet. I glanced over at the woman. She was staring at the ceiling, her good hand resting on her stomach, her breathing shallow. We didn't speak. My husband woke up an hour later. He stretched and yawned, looked at the new patient, then at me. I'm going to get some coffee, he said. Do you want anything? No, I said. He kissed my forehead. I'll be right back. When he left, the room felt lighter, like I could breathe again. The woman turned her head toward me. Our eyes met. Hers were brown, deep and tired, and haunted, like she'd seen things she couldn't unsee. Hi, she said quietly. Hi, I said back. I'm Lisa. Sarah. We fell into silence again. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence between two people who understood each other without words. The day passed slowly. My husband came back with coffee and a muffin. He stayed for a few more hours, reading, checking his phone, playing the devoted husband whenever someone walked in. Lisa's husband came in the afternoon. He was tall, broad shoulders. He wore a business suit, carried flowers, yellow roses. Baby, he said when he saw her. His voice was warm, concerned. How are you feeling? Okay, Lisa said. Her voice was small. He set the flowers on her table and sat beside her bed. He held her good hand, kissed it gently. I'm so sorry this happened, he said. I should have been there, should have protected you. It's not your fault, Lisa whispered. I should have caught you when you fell down those stairs. I looked away, pretended I wasn't listening. But I was. And I knew. I knew that tone, that performance, that mask. Lisa's husband stayed for an hour. He talked softly to her, brought her water, adjusted her pillows. When he left, he kissed her forehead. I love you, he said. I love you too, she whispered. When he was gone, Lisa stared at the door for a long time. Then she closed her eyes. That night, after the nurses dimmed the lights, I heard her crying, soft, muffled, like she was trying to hide it. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what, so I just lay there, listening, feeling her pain like it was my own. After a while, her crying stopped. The room fell quiet except for the hum of machines and distant voices in the hallway. Sarah? Lisa's voice broke the silence. Yeah? How did you get your bruises? I froze. My heart started pounding. I could feel the lie forming on my tongue, the same lie I'd told 100 times. I fell, I said. In the kitchen. The floor was wet. Silence. Then Lisa spoke again. I fell too, down the stairs. That's what I told the doctors. I turned my head to look at her. She was staring at the ceiling, her face illuminated by the soft glow from the monitors. But I didn't fall, she continued. He pushed me. We were arguing, and he pushed me, and I fell, broke my arm in 3 places. My throat tightened. I couldn't speak. He's going to kill me one day, Lisa said. Her voice was flat, empty. I know he will. If I don't leave. Are you going to leave? I asked. My voice was barely a whisper. Yes. She said it with certainty, like she'd already made the decision. As soon as I get out of here, I have a plan. I have money hidden, a friend in another state. I'm going to disappear. I wanted to believe her, wanted to believe it was that simple, that you could just leave, just disappear, just start over. But I saw the fear in her eyes when her husband walked in, saw the way she shrank, the way she obeyed, the way she became smaller. What about you? Lisa asked. Are you going to leave? I didn't answer because I didn't know. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But every time I thought about it, I felt paralyzed, trapped, like there was no way out. You should, Lisa said, before it's too late. I don't know how, I admitted. The words spilled out before I could stop them. Lisa turned her head to look at me. Neither do I, but I have to try. We both do. Silence settled between us again. But this time it felt different, like we'd shared something sacred, something secret. If I get out, Lisa said softly, I'll help you, I promise. And if I get out, I said, I'll help you. It felt like a pact, a promise between two women who understood what it meant to be trapped, to be afraid, to be slowly erased by someone who was supposed to love you. Deal, Lisa whispered. Deal, I whispered back. We lay there in the darkness, two broken women in a sterile hospital room, Both of us planning escapes we weren't sure we'd survive. But at least we weren't alone. The next morning, Lisa's husband came early. He brought breakfast, sat with her, smiled, laughed, played the perfect partner. My husband came an hour later. He did the same. And we both sat there, silent, playing our parts, pretending everything was fine. But under the surface, something had changed. A seed had been planted, a small flicker of hope, a whisper of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, we could get out. Maybe, just maybe, we could survive. The fluorescent lights above me buzzed softly, a sound I'd grown used to in the past 2 days. My body ached in places I didn't know could hurt. Every breath felt like a reminder of what I'd become, a woman who couldn't even protect herself in her own home. I stared at the ceiling, counting the tiles. 32. I'd counted them 17 times already. The door opened with a soft click. I didn't turn my head. I assumed it was another nurse coming to check my vitals, ask me the same questions, write down the same lies I'd been telling since they wheeled me in. But the footsteps were different, slower, more deliberate. Mrs. Anderson? The voice was new, a woman's voice, but not like the others. It carried weight somehow, like she'd heard 1,000 stories and knew mine before I even opened my mouth. I turned my head slowly, wincing at the pull in my neck. She stood at the foot of my bed, a woman in her mid-40s with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a white coat with a stethoscope draped around her neck. Her eyes were sharp but not cold, more like she could see through walls if she needed to. "I'm Dr. Reeves," she said, moving to the side of my bed. "I'm covering for Dr. Patel today. I wanted to check on your injuries myself." I nodded, preparing my script, the one I'd practiced, the one Marcus had reminded me of this morning before he left to get coffee. "I'm fine," I said quietly. "Just clumsy." Dr. Reeves didn't respond right away. She picked up my chart from the end of the bed and flipped through it slowly, her eyes scanning every line. Then she set it down and looked at me. "May I?" she asked, gesturing to my arm. I nodded again. She lifted the blanket gently, exposing the bruises on my forearm. Her fingers were soft as she examined them, pressing lightly in certain spots, watching my face for reactions. "These are defensive wounds," she said quietly, almost to herself. My heart started to race. "I told you," I said quickly. "I fell down the stairs. I put my hands out to catch myself." Dr. Reeves moved to the other side of the bed, examining the bruising on my ribs through the thin hospital gown. "And these?" she asked, her voice still calm. "I hit the railing on the way down." She straightened up, her eyes meeting mine. There was no judgment there, no pity, just understanding. "Is your husband here?" she asked. I swallowed hard. "He went to get coffee. He'll be back soon." "Good," Dr. Reeves said. She walked to the door and opened it slightly, glancing down the hallway. Then she stepped back inside and closed it most of the way, leaving just a crack. She came back to my bedside and pulled up a chair. She sat down, folding her hands in her lap. "Mrs. Anderson," she said softly, "I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen a lot of things, and I need you to know something." I felt my throat tighten. "I know you didn't fall down any stairs." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I opened my mouth to protest, to defend, to lie again, but nothing came out. Dr. Reeves leaned forward slightly. "You don't have to tell me anything right now," she said, "but I need you to know that I see you. I see what's happening, and I can help." Tears blurred my vision before I could stop them. I blinked hard, trying to push them back, but they spilled over anyway, hot and fast. "I'm fine," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Really, I just—" "You don't have to say it," Dr. Reeves said gently. "Not to me. Not right now." I turned my head away, staring at the wall. My chest heaved as I tried to hold back the sobs that wanted to escape. I'd kept it together for so long. I couldn't fall apart now. Not here, not with Marcus coming back any second. Dr. Reeves reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small card. She placed it on the bedside table next to my water cup. "That's my personal cell phone number," she said. "Not the hospital line. My personal number. You can call me anytime, day or night. No questions asked." I stared at the card through my tears, unable to speak. "I'm not going to push you," Dr. Reeves continued. But I need you to know that you have options. There are places you can go, people who can help. You don't have to live like this. I shook my head, wiping at my eyes with the back of my hand. You don't understand, I said, my voice barely audible. It's not that simple. I know it's not, she said, but it's possible. The door opened wider and I heard his voice before I saw him. Everything okay in here? Marcus stepped into the room holding 2 cups of coffee. He smiled at Dr. Reeves, but his eyes flicked to me first, scanning my face. Dr. Reeves stood up smoothly, her expression neutral and professional. Everything's fine, she said, just finishing up my examination. Marcus moved to my side, setting one of the coffee cups on the table, right next to the card Dr. Reeves had left. How's she doing? He asked, his tone light and concerned. Dr. Reeves looked at him for a long moment. Her sharp eyes studied his face, his posture, the way he stood just a little too close to me. She's recovering, Dr. Reeves said evenly. But she'll need to take it easy for the next few weeks. No strenuous activity. Plenty of rest. Of course, Marcus said, placing a hand on my shoulder. His grip was firm. I'll make sure she gets everything she needs. Dr. Reeves nodded slowly, her gaze never leaving his face. I'm sure you will, she said. There was something in her tone, something that made Marcus shift his weight slightly. Dr. Reeves turned back to me. If you need anything, Mrs. Anderson, don't hesitate to call. Her eyes dropped to the card on the table for just a second. Anything at all. Then she walked to the door, paused, and looked back at Marcus one more time. Take care of your wife, Mr. Anderson, she said quietly. And then she was gone. Marcus picked up the card immediately, turning it over in his fingers. What's this? He asked. Just her number, I said quickly, in case I have questions about my recovery. He stared at the card for a moment longer, then set it back down. You won't need it, he said, smiling. I'll take care of everything. But I could see it in his eyes. He knew. And so did I. The hospital doors slid open and the cold air hit my face. I pulled my cardigan tighter around my shoulders, wincing at the pressure against my ribs. Marcus walked beside me, his hand on my lower back. To anyone watching, he looked like the perfect husband. Attentive, caring, protective. But I could feel the tension in his fingers, the way they pressed just a little too hard against my spine. The parking lot was nearly empty. Our car sat under a flickering streetlight, the only sound the hum of traffic in the distance. He opened the passenger door for me without a word. I slid into the seat carefully, every movement sending sharp reminders through my body. He closed the door and walked around to the driver's side. The click of his door shutting felt like a lock turning. The engine started. He pulled out of the parking lot and onto the main road. Silence filled the car like smoke. I kept my eyes on the window, watching the streetlights blur past. My hands rested in my lap, fingers twisted together. I could feel him glancing at me every few seconds. His jaw was tight, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. That doctor? He said finally, his voice flat. My stomach dropped. She seemed very interested in you. She was just doing her job, I said quietly. Was she? It wasn't a question. I didn't respond. I knew better. The rest of the drive passed in suffocating quiet. Every turn felt longer than it should have been. Every red light lasted forever. When we finally pulled into our driveway, I felt my chest tighten. Home. The word used to mean safety. Now it just meant walls no one could see through. Marcus got out first and came around to open my door. He offered his hand and I took it, letting him help me out of the car. We walked to the front door together. He unlocked it and pushed it open, gesturing for me to go inside first. I stepped through the doorway. The door closed behind us, and everything changed. The smile dropped from his face like a mask being ripped off. His eyes went cold and hard. Before I could take another step, his hand shot out and grabbed my arm, right where the worst bruises were. I gasped, the pain shooting up to my shoulder. You think I'm stupid? He hissed, yanking me closer. Marcus, You made them suspicious, he said, his voice low and dangerous. That doctor, those nurses, they were looking at me like I was some kind of monster. I didn't say anything, I said quickly, my voice shaking. I swear, I told them exactly what you said to tell them. I said I fell. That's all I said. Then why did that doctor look at me like that? He demanded, his grip tightening. Why did she give you her personal number? I don't know, I said, tears already burning in my eyes. She just, she was being nice. That's all. I promise. Nice, he repeated, his lip curling. You think she was just being nice? Yes, I whispered. He let go of my arm and I stumbled back, catching myself against the wall. You're lying, he said, stepping closer. I can always tell when you're lying. I'm not, I said, my voice breaking. Marcus, please, I didn't do anything wrong. You embarrassed me, he said, his voice rising. You made me look bad in front of those people. Do you have any idea what that could do to me, to my reputation? I'm sorry, I said, the words automatic. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't good enough. He took another step forward and I pressed myself against the wall, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. His hand raised. I closed my eyes, bracing for the impact. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, nothing. Then a knock at the door. Sharp, official. Marcus froze, his hand still in the air. Another knock. Mr. Anderson? A voice called from outside. This is Officer Martinez with the Seattle Police Department. I need to speak with you for a moment. Marcus's expression changed instantly. The anger vanished, replaced by confusion and then concern. He lowered his hand slowly and turned toward the door. I opened my eyes, my whole body trembling. Marcus straightened his shirt and ran a hand through his hair. Then he looked back at me. Not a word, he said quietly. He walked to the door and opened it, his face transforming into a friendly, welcoming smile. A police officer stood on our porch, a man in his 30s with dark hair and a kind face. His uniform was neat and pressed, his badge catching the porch light. Officer, Marcus said warmly, extending his hand. Is everything all right? Officer Martinez shook his hand but didn't smile back. I hope so, he said. I was driving through the neighborhood and noticed your car pull in. I wanted to check and make sure everything was okay here. Of course, Marcus said, his tone light and confused. Why wouldn't it be? The officer's eyes moved past Marcus, landing on me. I was still standing by the wall, my arms wrapped around myself. Ma'am, Officer Martinez said, nodding at me. Are you all right? I felt Marcus's eyes on me, burning into the side of my face. I'm fine, I said, forcing my voice to sound steady. Just got home from the hospital. I had a little accident. What kind of accident? The officer asked. I fell down the stairs, I said, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. Clumsy me. Officer Martinez studied my face for a long moment. May I come in? He asked, looking back at Marcus. Of course, Marcus said, stepping aside. Please. The officer walked into our living room, his eyes moving over everything. The furniture, the walls, the family photos hanging in perfect rows. Marcus closed the door and gestured to the couch. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee? Marcus asked, playing the perfect host. No, thank you, Officer Martinez said. He turned to me. Mrs. Anderson, do you mind if I ask you a few questions about your fall? My throat went dry. Marcus moved to stand beside me, placing a hand on my shoulder. To the officer, it probably looked supportive, but I could feel the warning in his grip. Of course, I said quietly. Whatever you need to know. The front door closed with a soft click. I stood frozen in the hallway, listening to Marcus's footsteps fade down the driveway. The car door opened, closed. The engine started. I didn't move until I heard him drive away. Only then did I let out the breath I'd been holding. The house felt different when he wasn't in it, lighter somehow, like the walls could breathe again. I walked quickly to the bedroom and closed the door, even though I was alone. My hands trembled as I pulled open my nightstand drawer. 3 pieces of paper sat tucked beneath a stack of old magazines. Dr. Reeves's card with her personal cell phone number, the domestic violence hotline number the nurse had slipped into my discharge papers, and a business card from a women's shelter that someone had left on the windshield of our car 2 weeks ago. Marcus had crumpled it up and thrown it away, but I'd pulled it out of the trash later that night. I spread them out on the bed, staring at them like they were weapons I didn't know how to use. My phone sat on the nightstand, the screen dark and silent. Just pick it up, I told myself. Just call. But my hands wouldn't move. What if Marcus came back? What if he forgot something? What if someone saw me and told him? What if? The questions had kept me paralyzed for years. I picked up my phone before I could talk myself out of it. Dr. Reeves's number was already in my contacts. I'd saved it under pharmacy just in case Marcus ever looked. My thumb hovered over the call button. Do it. I pressed it. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Maybe she wouldn't answer. Maybe she'd forgotten about me. Maybe. This is Dr. Reeves. Her voice was calm and steady, exactly like I remembered. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak. Hello, Dr. Reeves said. Is anyone there? It's me, I whispered finally. It's Sarah Anderson. There was a pause, and then her voice softened. Sarah, she said gently, I'm glad you called. Are you safe right now? He's at work, I said, my voice shaking. He won't be home until 6. Okay, that's good. Can you talk freely? Yes. Sarah, I need you to listen to me very carefully, Dr. Reeves said. Can you meet me somewhere? Somewhere he wouldn't think to look for you? My heart started pounding. I don't know, I said. What if he finds out? He won't, Dr. Reeves said firmly. Not if we're careful. Is there a coffee shop or a library across town? Somewhere you don't normally go? I thought for a moment, my mind racing. There's a coffee shop near the university, I said. I've never been there. He doesn't know anyone in that area. Perfect, Dr. Reeves said. Can you meet me there in an hour? An hour? Yes. And Sarah, bring nothing that can be traced. No credit cards, no car if it has GPS. Take cash and use public transportation if you can. Fear shot through me. What's happening, Meg? I asked. Why does it sound like I'm running away? You're not running away, Dr. Reeves said. You're taking the first step toward getting help. There's a difference. Tears blurred my vision. I'm scared, I whispered. I know, Dr. Reeves said. But you don't have to do this alone. I'll be there. And I'm bringing someone who can help you understand your options. Who? A lawyer. She specializes in cases like yours. Her name is Amanda Chen, and she's helped hundreds of women in your situation. My stomach twisted. I can't afford a lawyer, I said. You don't have to worry about that right now, Dr. Reeves said. Just meet us. 1 hour. Can you do that? I looked at the clock. It was 10 in the morning. Marcus wouldn't be home until 6. 6 hours. I could do this. Okay, I said, my voice barely audible. Good, Dr. Reeves said. The coffee shop is called The Daily Grind. Do you know it? I can find it. We'll be in the back corner. I'll be wearing a blue scarf. You're doing the right thing, Sarah. The call ended. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at my phone. What was I doing? I grabbed my purse and emptied it onto the bed. Credit cards went into the drawer. My wedding ring stayed on. Taking it off would be too obvious if someone saw me. I found $40 in cash tucked into an old wallet. It would have to be enough. I changed into jeans and a plain sweater, nothing that would stand out. My hands were still shaking as I pulled my hair into a ponytail. The bus stop was 3 blocks away. I locked the front door behind me and started walking, my heart hammering with every step. The bus arrived 10 minutes later. I climbed on and handed the driver $2, then made my way to the back and sat in the corner seat, right by the emergency exit. The bus pulled away from the curb, and I watched the houses blur past, each one looking just like mine from the outside. Perfect lawns, perfect paint jobs, perfect lives. Nobody knew what happened behind those doors. The ride took 30 minutes. I spent the entire time watching the door, convinced that Marcus would somehow appear, that he'd know exactly where I was going and why. But he didn't. The bus stopped near the university, and I got off, my legs unsteady. The Daily Grind was half a block away, tucked between a bookstore and a yoga studio. Through the window, I could see students hunched over laptops, couples sharing pastries, people living normal lives. I pushed open the door and the smell of coffee hit me immediately. The back corner. I spotted Dr. Reeves right away. She sat at a small table, a blue scarf draped around her shoulders. Across from her sat a woman in her 40s with short black hair and kind eyes, a leather briefcase resting against her chair. Dr. Reeves looked up and saw me. She smiled and waved me over. I walked to their table, my legs feeling like they might give out at any second. Sarah, Dr. Reeves said, standing up to greet me. Thank you for coming. This is Amanda Chen. The other woman stood and extended her hand. Her grip was firm and warm. It's nice to meet you, Sarah, Amanda said. Please, sit down. I slid into the empty chair, my back to the wall so I could see the door. Amanda noticed. You're safe here, she said gently. I promise. Dr. Reeves reached across the table and squeezed my hand. How are you feeling? She asked. Terrified, I said honestly. That's normal, Amanda said. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. Sarah, Dr. Reeves told me a little bit about your situation. I want you to know that everything we discussed today is completely confidential. Nothing leaves this table unless you decide you want to move forward. Understood? I nodded. Good, Amanda said. She opened the folder and pulled out several documents. I'm going to lay out your options. Some of them are going to sound scary, some of them are going to sound impossible, but I need you to listen with an open mind. Can you do that? I'll try, I whispered. Amanda looked me directly in the eyes. Sarah, based on what Dr. Reeves has told me, you are in immediate danger. What's happening to you is not your fault, and you do not deserve it. Do you understand that? Tears spilled down my cheeks before I could stop them. I don't know, I said, my voice breaking. Well, I do, Amanda said firmly. And by the time you leave this table, you're going to understand it too. Amanda Chen slid a piece of paper across the table toward me. This is what we need, she said quietly. I looked down at the list. My stomach turned. Photos of injuries, medical records, police reports, witness statements, recorded incidents, financial documents. I don't have any of this, I said, my voice hollow. Then we start collecting it, Amanda said, starting today. Dr. Reeves leaned forward. Sarah, I know this feels overwhelming, but documentation is what will protect you. It's what will make sure he can't twist the story. He's good at twisting stories, I whispered. I know, Amanda said. That's why we need evidence he can't deny. She pulled out her phone and opened the camera app. May I? She asked, gesturing to my arm. I hesitated, then slowly rolled up my sleeve. The bruises were still there, yellowing now but visible. Finger-shaped marks where he'd grabbed me. Amanda took several photos from different angles, her face completely neutral and professional. These are dated and time-stamped, she explained. Keep taking photos every few days as they heal. It shows a pattern. I pulled my sleeve back down, feeling exposed even though we were the only ones who could see. What else? I asked. Everything, Amanda said. Every mark, every broken object. If he punches a wall, photograph the hole. If he throws something, photograph the pieces. Create a timeline. Where do I keep the photos? I asked. He checks my phone sometimes. Cloud storage under a different account, Amanda said. Email them to yourself using an address he doesn't know about. Or better yet, get a second phone. A cheap one. Keep it hidden. My head was spinning. I can't afford a second phone, I said. Amanda reached into her briefcase and pulled out a small box. Inside was a basic smartphone, the kind you could buy at any convenience store. This is prepaid, she said. Untraceable. Use it only for documentation and emergency calls. Never bring it out when he's around. I stared at the phone like it was a bomb. Hide it somewhere he would never think to look, Dr. Reeves said. Somewhere that's only yours. I thought about our house. Marcus went through everything. My drawers, my purse, my car. But there were places, small places. Okay, I said quietly. Amanda handed me a small notebook. Write down every incident, she said. Date, time, what happened, what was said, even if it seems small, especially if it seems small. Patterns matter. I took the notebook, my hands trembling. And recordings? I asked. Amanda's expression grew serious. Washington is a two-party consent state, she said. That means legally you need permission to record someone. But in cases of domestic violence, judges sometimes allow it as evidence if it's the only way to prove abuse. It's a gray area. So I should record him? I asked. I'm not telling you to break the law. Amanda said carefully. But I am telling you that if you feel your life is in danger, documentation of any kind can save you. I nodded slowly, understanding what she wasn't saying. The meeting lasted another 30 minutes. They gave me resources, phone numbers, addresses of safe houses. When it was time to leave, Amanda walked me to the door. One more thing, she said. Don't change your routine too much. If he notices you acting differently, it could put you in more danger. Take your time, collect what you can, and when you're ready to leave, we'll be ready too. What if I'm never ready? I whispered. She squeezed my shoulder gently. You already made the hardest call, she said. Everything else is just steps. I took the bus home, the prepaid phone hidden at the bottom of my purse. The house was still empty when I got back. I had 2 hours before Marcus came home. I went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. The phone powered on with a soft chime. I set up the camera and took photos of the bruises on my ribs, my arms, the back of my legs where he'd kicked me last week. Each photo felt like a betrayal and a relief at the same time. I created a new email account, Recovery Journey 2024, and sent the photos to myself. Then I looked around the bathroom trying to find a hiding place. The cabinet under the sink was too obvious. The medicine cabinet too easy to search. My eyes landed on the box of tampons in the bottom drawer. I opened it and buried the phone at the very bottom beneath the plastic wrappers. He would never look there. Over the next week, I became a spy in my own home. When Marcus raised his voice, I turned on the voice recorder app and slipped my phone into my pocket. When he shoved me against the counter and left a bruise on my hip, I photographed it the next morning. When he punched the wall next to my head and left a hole in the drywall, I waited until he left for work and took pictures from 3 different angles. Every piece of evidence went into the cloud. Every incident went into the notebook, hidden inside an old cookbook on the top shelf. I was careful, so careful, but not careful enough. It was a Thursday night. Marcus had come home angry about something at work. A client who'd disrespected him, a colleague who'd questioned his decision. I'd learned not to ask questions, just to listen and nod and agree. But that night, he wanted more than agreement. He wanted a fight. You're not even listening, he snapped. I am, I said quickly. I'm sorry, I'm just tired. Tired, he repeated, his voice dripping with contempt. You're always tired. What do you even do all day? My phone was in my pocket. The recorder was running. I clean, I cook, You sit around this house doing nothing, he said, stepping closer, while I'm out there working my ass off to keep a roof over your head. I know, I said, backing up. I'm grateful. I really am. Are you? His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. My phone slipped. It fell out of my pocket and clattered onto the hardwood floor, face up. The recording app was visible on the screen, the red timer counting up. Time stopped. Marcus looked down at the phone, then up at me. What is that? He asked, his voice deadly quiet. Nothing, I said, panic flooding through me. I was just... He let go of my wrist and picked up the phone. His thumb hovered over the screen. Were you recording me? He asked. No, I lied. I must have pressed it by accident. He stared at the screen, his jaw clenched. Then he opened the app and I watched him scroll through the files. 3 recordings, all from this week. Delete them, I said quickly. I'll delete them right now. It was an accident, I swear. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he handed me the phone. Delete them, he said. My hand shook as I opened each file and hit delete. Gone, all of it. Show me, he said. I opened the recently deleted folder and permanently erased each one. He watched every movement. When I was done, he took the phone from my hands and threw it against the wall. It shattered into pieces, the screen cracking like a spider web across the floor. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Marcus ran his hands through his hair and let out a long breath. I'm sorry, he said, his voice suddenly soft. I'm so sorry, baby. I don't know what came over me. It's just been such a stressful week. He pulled me into his arms, and I stood there, frozen. I'll buy you a new phone tomorrow, he murmured into my hair. A better one, the newest model. Would you like that? Yes, I whispered. The next day, he came home with an iPhone in a sleek white box. He set it up himself, entering all the passwords, linking it to his own cloud account. There, he said, handing it to me. Good as new. I smiled and thanked him. That night, I took the bus to a convenience store 3 neighborhoods away. I paid cash for the cheapest phone they had, and I hid it at the bottom of my winter coat pocket, buried under old receipts and forgotten tissues. He would never think to look there, not until winter came. And by then, I'd have everything I needed. The notification lit up my phone screen while I was folding laundry. Facebook. Jennifer Walsh sent you a friend request. I stared at the name, my hands frozen on one of Marcus's shirts. Jennifer Walsh. We'd been roommates in college, back when I still had dreams of becoming a teacher. Back when I laughed easily and stayed up too late talking about everything and nothing. Back when I was a different person. I hadn't thought about her in years. Marcus had slowly cut me off from all my old friends, saying they were a bad influence, that they didn't understand our relationship, that I didn't need anyone but him. And I'd let him. My finger hovered over the accept button. What would Marcus say if he knew? But he wasn't home. He wouldn't know. Not if I was careful. I accepted the request. Within seconds, a message popped up. Jennifer, oh my God, Sarah, I can't believe I found you. How have you been? My throat tightened. I looked toward the bedroom door, making sure it was still closed. I typed slowly. Me. I've been good. How are you? Jennifer. Amazing. Well, busy. I'm a social worker now. Can you believe it? Remember how we used to say we'd change the world? I smiled despite myself. Me. I remember. Jennifer. Are you still in Seattle? We should get coffee and catch up. My heart started racing. Coffee. Something so simple, something normal people did without thinking twice. Me. I'd like that. We made plans to meet the following Tuesday at a cafe downtown. Marcus had a business lunch that day. He'd be gone from 11 to 3. I could do this. Tuesday came faster than I expected. I told Marcus I had a doctor's appointment. He'd stopped coming to those after the hospital incident, too worried about what doctors might say or ask. What kind of appointment? He asked, not looking up from his coffee. Just a follow-up, I said. For my ribs. He nodded absently. Be home by 3. I will. The cafe was small and warm, filled with the smell of fresh bread and espresso. I found Jennifer sitting at a corner table, her dark hair shorter than I remembered, laugh lines around her eyes. She stood up when she saw me, and before I could say anything, she pulled me into a tight hug. I stiffened at first, not used to being touched with kindness. It's so good to see you, Jennifer said, pulling back to look at me. Her smile faded slightly. Sarah, are you okay? You look... I'm fine, I said automatically. We sat down. She ordered a latte, I ordered tea. For the first 20 minutes, we talked about safe things. Her job, her apartment, the funny stories from our college days. But I could feel her watching me, studying me. Sarah, she said finally, setting down her cup, what's really going on? What do you mean? You used to light up a room, she said softly. Now you look like you're afraid to take up space in it. The words hit me harder than any of Marcus's fists ever had. I opened my mouth to lie, to say everything was fine, to protect the secret I'd been keeping for years. But instead, I started crying. Right there in the cafe, tears streaming down my face, unable to stop. Jennifer reached across the table and took my hand. Tell me, she said. So I did. Not everything, not the worst parts, but enough. I told her about the hospital, about the bruises, about the way Marcus controlled everything. My phone, my money, my life. Jennifer didn't interrupt. She didn't gasp or look shocked. She just listened, her hand warm around mine. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. How long? She asked. 3 years, I whispered. Maybe longer. It started small. I didn't even realize it was happening until it was too late. Sarah, Jennifer said, her voice steady and clear, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I work with women in your situation every single day. What you just described to me is abuse. Serious abuse. And it's going to get worse. I know, I said, wiping my eyes. I'm working on it. I have a lawyer. I'm collecting evidence. Good, Jennifer said. That's good, but you need a backup plan. You need somewhere safe to go if things escalate. I have numbers, I said. Shelters. Shelters are full, Jennifer said, and they're the first place he'll look. I want you to come to my place. I looked up at her, startled. I have a 2-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, she continued. The second bedroom is empty. You can stay there as long as you need. No questions asked, day or night. If you need to leave, you leave. You come to me. Jennifer, I can't. Yes, you can, she said firmly. You're my friend. You were there for me when my mom died. Remember? You sat with me in that hospital room for 12 hours straight. Let me be there for you now. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. What if he finds out? I asked. Then we deal with it, Jennifer said. Together. She pulled out her phone and typed something, then showed me the screen. Her address, her apartment number, the door code. Memorize this, she said. Don't save it in your phone. Just memorize it. I studied the screen until I had it committed to memory. And one more thing, Jennifer said. She typed again and showed me another message. Code red. If you ever need immediate help, she said, send me those 2 words. That's it. Just code red. I'll know what it means, and I'll come, no matter what time it is, no matter where I am. I will come. Code red, I repeated. Practice it, she said. Practice typing it until you can do it without looking, until it's muscle memory. We spent another hour together. She told me about resources I didn't know existed. She gave me the names of police officers who specialized in domestic violence cases. She made me promise to call her at least once a week. When it was time to leave, she hugged me again. You're stronger than you think, she whispered, and you're not alone anymore. I drove home in a daze, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. But when I walked through the front door, Marcus was sitting on the couch. It was only 2 o'clock. You're home early, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Meeting got canceled, he said, not looking at me. His eyes were on his phone. How was your appointment? Fine, quick. He nodded slowly, still staring at his screen. That's funny, he said, because I called Dr. Patterson's office to ask about your follow-up. They said you didn't have an appointment scheduled today. My blood went cold. Must have been a mix-up, I said. Maybe they forgot to put it in the system. Marcus finally looked up at me. Where were you, Sarah? I told you, the doctor's office. Don't lie to me. He stood up and walked toward me, his phone still in his hand. I checked your Facebook, he said quietly. You accepted a friend request from Jennifer Walsh, your old college roommate. My heart stopped. Were you with her? He asked. We just got coffee, I said. That's all, just coffee. His jaw clenched. I don't want you seeing her again, he said. Marcus dash dash. She's trying to get in your head, he interrupted. Trying to turn you against me, I can tell. Women like that always try to break up happy marriages. She's not. I said no, Sarah. His voice was final. The conversation was over. That night, I lay in bed next to him, staring at the ceiling. When his breathing finally evened out into sleep, I reached for my phone on the nightstand. I opened my contacts and found Jennifer's name. I changed it to Dr. Stevens. Then I opened a blank message and practiced typing without looking at the screen. Code red, code red, code red. My fingers learned the pattern, the muscle memory Jennifer had told me to build. I deleted each practice message before sending. But I knew, if I ever needed her, I could type those words in the dark. And she would come. I heard his car pull into the driveway at 11:30. The engine cut off, the door slammed. Then silence. I was in the living room pretending to watch TV, my hidden phone in my pocket. The front door opened and I knew immediately something was wrong. His footsteps were uneven, heavy. The smell of whiskey hit me before he even came into view. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his tie loose, his shirt untucked. His eyes were unfocused and red. Drunk. He was never a good drunk. Where were you? I asked softly, trying to keep my voice neutral. Out, he slurred. What's it to you? I was just worried, I said. It's late. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Worried, he repeated. You. Worried about me. He stumbled into the living room and dropped onto the couch beside me. Too close. I could feel the heat radiating off him, smell the alcohol on his breath. You know what I realized tonight? he said, staring at the TV without really seeing it. I didn't answer. I realized I've wasted 5 years of my life on you. My chest tightened. Marcus dash dash. 5 years, he continued, his voice rising. 5 years of supporting you, putting a roof over your head, dealing with your constant whining and crying. And for what? I'm sorry, I said quietly. Sorry, he spat. You're always sorry, but you never change. He stood up suddenly, swaying slightly. Get up, he said. What? I said get up. I stood slowly, my heart pounding. He grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the bedroom. His grip was tight, painful. Marcus, you're hurting me. Good, he said. He shoved me through the bedroom door and I stumbled, catching myself on the dresser. He slammed the door behind us. The sound echoed in the small room like a gunshot. Marcus, please, I said, backing away. You're drunk. Let's just go to sleep. We can talk in the morning. I don't want to talk in the morning, he said, moving toward me. I'm tired of talking. I'm tired of looking at you. I'm tired of pretending you're worth keeping around. There was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not just anger, not just rage, something darker, something final. You think I don't know what you're doing? He said, backing me into the corner. You think I'm stupid? I don't know what you're talking about, I whispered. The lawyer, he said. The evidence. You think I don't know you're planning to leave me? My blood went cold. I'm not. Don't lie to me, he roared, slamming his fist into the wall beside my head. I flinched, my ears ringing from the sound. You were going to make me look like a monster, he said, his face inches from mine. Tell everyone I'm some kind of abuser. Ruin my reputation, my career, my life. Marcus, please. Well, if I'm going to be the monster, he said softly, I might as well earn it. His hands went to my throat. Not squeezing, not yet, but there. A promise. Something inside me snapped. Survival. I brought my knee up hard, catching him in the stomach. He doubled over with a grunt and I ran. I didn't think, I just moved. The bathroom was 3 steps away. I slammed the door behind me and turned the lock with shaking hands. A second later, his fist hit the door. Open this door, he screamed. I backed away, my hands fumbling for my phone. He hit the door again. The frame shook. My fingers found the phone in my pocket. I pulled it out and opened my messages. Sarah, he shouted. I swear to God, if you don't open this door right now. I typed 2 words. Code red. Sent. The door shuddered as he threw his weight against it. I looked around frantically. The bathroom was small. There wasn't much to work with. I grabbed the towel rack and pulled. It came off the wall with a crack. I shoved it under the door handle, wedging it against the tile floor. Not much, but something. My phone buzzed. Jennifer, I'm calling 911 right now. Stay where you are. Help is coming. Another hit. The door frame cracked. I dragged the bathroom cabinet in front of the door. It was heavy, filled with cleaning supplies and towels. You can't hide in there forever, Marcus screamed. I could hear the rage in his voice, but also something else. Panic. He knew what he'd done, what he'd been about to do. And he knew I'd finally fight back. The cabinet screeched across the floor as I pushed it against the door. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip it. Another hit. I heard wood splinter. Please, I whispered to no one. Please hurry. My phone rang. I answered without looking at the screen. Sarah? Jennifer's voice. The police are on their way. They're 3 minutes out. Can you stay safe for 3 minutes? I don't know, I said, my voice breaking. Yes, you can, Jennifer said firmly. You can do this. Keep the door blocked. Keep breathing. I'm here. The door shook again. I heard him kicking it now. I pressed my back against the far wall, as far from the door as I could get. The cabinet slid forward an inch. He's breaking through, I said into the phone. Stay away from the door, Jennifer said. Get in the bathtub. Now. I climbed into the bathtub and crouched down, making myself as small as possible. The door cracked. I could see his hand reaching through, trying to unlock it from the inside. Sarah, he screamed. You're going to regret this. Then I heard it. Sirens. Distant at first, then growing louder. Marcus heard them too. His hand froze. No, he said. No, no, no. The sirens were right outside now. I heard car doors slamming. Seattle police, open the door. Marcus's hand disappeared from the crack in the door. I heard his footsteps running. He's running, I shouted into the phone. Stay where you are, Jennifer said. Don't come out until the police tell you to. There was pounding on the front door, loud, official. Police, open up. Then a crash. They'd kicked in the door. Clear, someone shouted. Bedroom, another voice. Footsteps thundered through the house. Ma'am, Seattle PD, are you in there? Yes, I called out, my voice weak. I'm in the bathroom. Are you alone? Yes. Can you open the door? I climbed out of the bathtub, my legs barely holding me. I pushed the cabinet aside and pulled out the towel rack. My hands fumbled with the lock. The door opened. A female officer stood there, her hand on her weapon, her eyes scanning me quickly. Are you injured? She asked. I opened my mouth to say no, but then I felt it. Wetness running down the side of my face. I touched my temple and my fingers came away red. I must have hit my head when I ran. I didn't even remember. I think so, I whispered. The officer stepped forward and gently took my arm. Let's get you out of here, she said. She led me through the bedroom. The door was completely destroyed, hanging off its hinges, through the living room where two more officers were searching, and out the front door into the night air. An ambulance was parked in the driveway, lights flashing. Neighbors stood on their porches watching. And there, standing beside a police car in handcuffs, was Marcus. Our eyes met. For the first time in 5 years, I didn't look away. The key turned in the lock with a soft click. My lock. My key. My door. I pushed it open and stepped into the small studio apartment, sunlight streaming through the window I'd left open that morning. It wasn't much. Just one room with a kitchenette in the corner, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and a view of the parking lot. But it was mine. I set my groceries on the counter and unpacked them slowly, putting each item exactly where I wanted it. No one to tell me I was doing it wrong, no one to criticize my choices, no one to move things around later just to remind me who was in control. Just me. 6 months had passed since that night. 6 months since the police led me out of that house while Marcus stood in handcuffs, screaming that I'd ruined his life. 6 months since I'd started learning how to breathe again. The legal process had been brutal. Court dates, depositions, facing him across a courtroom while lawyers argued about restraining orders and criminal charges. But Amanda Chen had been there through all of it. Dr. Reeves had testified about my injuries. Jennifer had given a statement about the night she called 911. And all the evidence I'd collected, the photos, the recordings, the documentation, had painted a picture Marcus couldn't lie his way out of. The restraining order was granted, 5 years. He couldn't come within 500 feet of me. And the criminal charges stuck. Assault, domestic violence. He was facing up to 3 years in prison. I'd seen him one last time in court 3 weeks ago during his sentencing hearing. He'd sat at the defense table in a suit I'd ironed 100 times, his jaw tight, his eyes cold. When the judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement, Amanda had looked at me with a question in her eyes. You don't have to, she'd said. It's your choice. But I'd stood up, I'd walked to the podium, and I'd looked him directly in the eyes. For 5 years, I'd said, my voice steady, you made me believe I was nothing, that I was worthless, that no one would ever love me the way you did. He'd stared at me with something like disbelief, like he couldn't understand how the woman he'd broken had found the strength to stand. You told me I was lucky to have you, I'd continued, that I should be grateful, that everything you did was because you loved me. I'd paused, letting the words sink in. But love doesn't leave bruises. Love doesn't make you afraid to speak. Love doesn't trap you in your own home. His jaw had clenched. His hands had curled into fists on the table. I want you to know that I survived you, I'd said. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure other women survive men like you, too. The judge had sentenced him to 18 months in prison, followed by mandatory counseling and 5 years probation. When they led him away, he'd looked back at me one last time, and I hadn't looked away. Now, standing in my small apartment, I pulled out my phone and checked my calendar. I had a shift at the women's shelter in an hour. I'd started volunteering there 2 months ago after Jennifer suggested it might help with my healing. She'd been right. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I sat with women who were exactly where I'd been, scared, ashamed, convinced they had nowhere to go. And I told them my story. I told them about the hospital, about the doctor who'd seen through my lies, about the friend who'd answered my call in the middle of the night, about the evidence I'd collected and the lawyer who'd fought for me. I told them they weren't alone, and I watched hope flicker in their eyes, the same way it had flickered in mine when Dr. Reeves first told me she could help. My phone buzzed with a text. Jennifer, still on for dinner tonight? Me, absolutely. See you at 7. Jennifer had become more than a friend. She'd become family, the sister I'd never had. She'd been there through every court date, every panic attack, every moment I'd wanted to give up. And she'd been there to celebrate when I finally signed the lease on this apartment, bringing a bottle of champagne and a houseplant she'd named Fred. Fred sat on the windowsill now, thriving in the sunlight. Another text came through, this one from a number I'd saved just last week. David, hope you're having a good day. Still good for coffee on Saturday? I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. David. I'd met him at a support group for survivors of domestic violence. He'd been married to a woman who'd slowly isolated him from his family, controlled his money, monitored his every move. When he'd shared his story, I'd seen myself in his words. After the meeting, he'd approached me carefully, respectfully. I don't want to overstep, he'd said, but would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? Just to talk? No pressure. I'd almost said no. The thought of trusting someone again, of letting anyone that close, had made my chest tighten with fear. But then I'd remembered something Amanda had told me during one of our last meetings. Healing isn't about never trusting again. It's about learning to trust wisely. And that takes practice. So I'd said yes. Now, looking at his message, I smiled. Me. I'm having a great day, and yes, Saturday works perfectly. His response came quickly. David, looking forward to it. I set my phone down and walked to the bathroom. The mirror above the sink was small and slightly cracked at the corner. The landlord had promised to replace it, but I'd told him not to bother. I liked it the way it was. Imperfect, but functional, just like me. I looked at my reflection, really looked. The bruises were long gone, the cuts had healed, my hair had grown back where he'd pulled it out that last night. But the biggest change wasn't physical, it was in my eyes. They weren't hollow anymore. They weren't afraid. They were strong. I saw a survivor staring back at me, not a victim, not someone defined by what had been done to her, but a woman who'd chosen to live. A woman who'd fought her way out of hell and decided to help others do the same. A woman who was learning slowly what it meant to be free. I smiled at my reflection. You did it, I whispered. You actually did it. The evening sun streamed through the window, painting everything gold. I grabbed my keys, and headed out the door. I had a shift at the shelter, then dinner with Jennifer, then a whole weekend ahead of me to do whatever I wanted. And on Saturday, I had coffee with someone who just might understand. The hallway was quiet as I locked the door behind me, testing the handle twice to make sure it was secure. Old habits. But this time, I was locking the world out, not locking myself in, and that made all the difference. I walked down the stairs and out into the warm evening air, my heart lighter than it had been in years. The future was uncertain. There would be hard days ahead, therapy sessions, nightmares, moments when the fear came rushing back. But I wasn't running anymore. I was walking forward, one step at a time, into a life that was finally completely mine. Don't forget to rate this story and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.